We began the year 2020 like everyone else. We made plans, set goals, and planned events with large crowds in mind. We titled the year 2020 Vision because we assumed that, within a few degrees, we could see clearly into the future and knew what was coming. And, like everyone else, we were wrong. In January 2020, at Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in New Prague, Minnesota, we held the third of a series of congregation-wide meetings. Termed huddles by our sports-loving co-pastor Ben, the focus of this meeting was looking outward and featured a panel of speakers, including Bishop Ann Svenningsson, who spoke about the church's mission. We dressed in plaid, broke bread, and brainstormed about how we could better reach and serve our community. Services that month also featured several speakers from New Prague, who spoke during the mission moment about the needs of those around us. The Peace Center, New Prague area schools, and Praha Village were all represented by guests who shared their stories. On January 21st, the Center for Disease Control confirmed the first coronavirus case in the United States. 10 days later, a global health emergency was declared by the World Health Organization. Assuming this virus would behave like H1N1 or SARS and not fully reach us, we continued as normal. Throughout the month of February, we went on road trips. Wanting to see firsthand how different churches answered the needs of their congregations and communities, we visited other New Prague churches and churches in the cities. These congregations varied in size, background, and socioeconomic status to provide a rounder picture of what we were striving for. March held the fourth and final huddle. Pat Remford and Isaiah Podratz hosted as we looked forward, while retired Bishop Mark Hansen spoke about how faith can move mountains. Who knew then how relevant that message would become as the coronavirus spread around the world? We also learned that day of the very generous gift of $510,000 from George and Joan Wynn for a new administration wing. Finally, on March 11th, the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a global pandemic. 2 days later, the government declared a national emergency. Like so many around the world, the congregation and staff of Holy Trinity paused. We delayed our dreams, postponed our plans, and prepared for a new reality. That Sunday, March 15th, with only 7 people in the room, we streamed the service live on Facebook, an eerie experience at best.
Because of COVID-19, we've moved worship online, as you can see. Notice I didn't say we canceled worship. We've just moved online. We've changed from being in our physical sanctuary to being in our digital sanctuary.
There were no children running around, no groups laughing in the narthex, no cheerful faces in the seats. We spoke and played music to a camera, knowing you were on the other side of it. A new experience, but one that would become deeply familiar as the pandemic wore on. Then, we gathered our things, turned out the lights, and locked the doors. Switching to online services took some work. At the beginning of the pandemic, most churches chose between a live streaming format or a pre-recorded format. Live streaming meant several people would be in one place inside the church. Pre-recorded meant that all parts of the worship service could be separately recorded from people's homes. In an effort to be safe and to make it feel as if everyone were in this together, we went the pre-recorded route. Using a software program called Final Cut Pro, we spliced together the various video submissions, added titles and transitions, then sent the services to Facebook, YouTube, K-Check, and Bevcom. Despite having dreams disrupted, Holy Trinity's vision team finished their work and effectively discerned the vision, mission, and values of this congregation. After producing the final vision report, the vision team distributed the results to the congregation with a gift bag and the debut of an updated church logo. At the onset of the pandemic, we formed a risk management team. Their job is to stay up to date with the latest recommendations from the ELCA, the CDC, the World Health Organization, Mayo Clinic, and the Minnesota Department of Health. Team members Pastor Alicia, Paul Newton, and Kim Gasner meet regularly online to bring congregational practices that are both responsible and meaningful. In a time when we're all searching for clarity, this team helped Holy Trinity to stay calm, stay safe, and stay the course. 3 new faces joined the team in 2020. Casey Fremstad became our new Director of Children, Youth, and Family Ministry. Angela Schoenbauer joined as our video production coordinator, while Gina Fadden became our graphic designer. There was also some shifting as Pastor Alicia lessened her hours to care for her family during quarantine, and Rose Fife transitioned to communications specialist. To help with the added communication of a church in online mode, a communications team was put in place. Together, Pastor Ben, Ministry Coordinator Karen Taylor, Video Coordinator Angela Schoenbauer, Graphic Designer Gina Fadden, and Communications Specialist Rose Fife meet weekly on Zoom to determine the plan of action. Communications also shifted from printing a monthly newsletter to an online weekly newsletter. Titled HTLC Connections, this is put together by our Ministry Coordinator Karen Taylor, who also gave our website a beautiful overhaul. The hashtag Together at Home became popular as the world tried to find ways of being together while socially distanced. To bring that sense of community and fun, Gina Fadden coordinated a team of 8 talented photographers for the Family Front Porch Project. Several families posed with pets, footballs, or computers on their front porch to show their unity. We broke ground for the new office wing on June 2nd. Donors George and Joan Wynn, along with pastors Alicia and Ben and construction company Deutsche Construction, were on site to pray for the new addition, the health and safety of the workers, and the ministry made possible for years to come. A few months later, the Wynns announced another gift to cover the cost of additional remodeling work in the existing fellowship hall and 4 bathrooms. As racial tensions heated up over the murder of George Floyd, a racial justice task force was formed to educate and combat systemic racism. In addition, the staff and church council responded by reading Lenny Duncan's honest and life-changing book, Dear Church, a love letter from a black preacher to the whitest denomination in the United States. The church promises to walk alongside us from birth to death. This meant baptisms and funerals had to also move online. Families hosted outdoor baptisms in their backyards and then celebrated with a congregational drive-by at the church. We lost many beloved souls in 2020, people who were dear to us and whom we will never forget. Funeral services were streamed on our Facebook and YouTube pages, allowing the congregation to say goodbye in a safe way. Our prayers continue to be with the families of those whom we lost. Our prayers are also with those whom we have lost to COVID-19. In July, Vacation Bible School went online with our theme of At Home with Jesus. 112 kids jumped on to learn about Jesus and sing along with vocalist Rachel Kurtz. For their mission project, the VBS families raised $5,000 for Beacon Interfaith Housing Collaborative, a collection of congregations that work to ensure everyone has a place to call home. The missions outreach team and the endowment committee donated an additional $5,000 each, bringing our church contribution total to $15,000. This valuable gift will pay for 1 unit of affordable housing at the Prairie Point Housing Project in Shakopee. In August, the mission team packed 138 bags of school supplies for families in the area. The school supplies giveaway was formatted as a drive-by this year to avoid too many people in a small space. Other mission donations in 2020 included River Valley Health Services, Cristo Obrero, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Lutheran Disaster Response, the Peace Center, Duck Cup Memorial, and of course, food and household products for our little free pantries. Your generous donations make this possible. Thank you! To create an accessible place of prayer while the church building is closed, property manager John Berquist designed and built a prayer garden. Located on the south end of the property, Visitation Pastor Diane Goulson held weekly prayer time in the garden every Monday mornings at 9 a.m. We are relieved to report, however, that for Pastor Diane and Karen's sakes, that prayer time will now be indoors for the duration of the winter. As the new school year approached, both schools and churches tried to determine ways to create safe and meaningful opportunities for the youth to connect during a pandemic that lingered on.
The fruit of the Spirit's not a coconut. The fruit of the Spirit's not a coconut.
To create stability throughout the year, we decided to make the majority of our programs online, with plans for occasional in-person gatherings. Confirmation online was another challenge that just ended up bringing us closer. 13 kids were confirmed and celebrated with a drive-by congregational parade in the parking lot. Congratulations to the kids and their families. 21 children and their families celebrated First Communion in a series of 3 outdoor services on a very windy October 11th afternoon. The congregation was invited to participate in communion, and for many, this was a moving experience. As for many, it was the first time they had seen the church building since March. Congratulations to the first communicants and their families. October also held the drive-through Spooktacular Halloween. Congregants and volunteers decorated their cars in Halloween themes as families proceeded in parade fashion through the parking lot. Hospitality coordinator Donna Galvin knew people in the community were having problems feeding their families during the pandemic, so she and the kitchen team packed and handed out 100 meals to the community on Thanksgiving Day. Knowing an Advent not celebrated together would be difficult, Ministry Coordinator Karen Taylor and Property Manager John Berquist created and handed out 125 Advent logs with a devotional. The logs were cut from the trees at the Craig and Melissa Horish farm. Christmas tea, a long-held tradition at Holy Trinity, was celebrated on Facebook and YouTube as hosts Darcy Schoenebeck and Kim Gasner invited guests to share their honest, sometimes brutally honest, quarantine stories and life updates. And then there was Christmas Eve.
Get ready for an unforgettable Christmas Eve worship service.
No one plans on spending Christmas Eve without a gathering of extended family. We don't plan on not attending church, not being greeted at the front door by smiling familiar faces, or not singing carols together in a candlelit room. But the people of Holy Trinity came together. You sent videos of Christmas songs and Bible readings. Your smiling and familiar faces welcomed viewers as online hosts. A chorus of voices sang Christmas carols pieced together in a video, and you passed a candle to share the light of Christmas. This lovely Christmas Eve service would not have been possible without your efforts, and we thank you. Looking back on 2020, our world, our country, our families, and our church experienced a challenge that disrupted our dreams and hopes. At Holy Trinity, we responded with care and protection for our community, but also a pioneering and creative spirit in the digital world. While the building was closed, our community of faith persevered. We worshiped together. We responded to the needs of our community together. We welcomed people together. We grieved together. And most of all, we trusted in God together because we are called to share God's love for all people, from one generation to the next. As we look ahead, we know better than to predict what is to come, but we do know this: God has been faithful, and we pray we have been too. Thank you, members and friends of Holy Trinity Lutheran Church in New Prague, Minnesota, for all the times you reached out to check on your neighbors, strengthened your families, and cared for your community. May God bless you and keep you. May the Lord's face shine on you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. Amen.